Okay, 9 days from now, the top candidates vying to be the GOP nominee will participate in the next Republican debate hosted by NewsNation. But first, another kind of contest. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis going head-to-head in a debate against California Governor Gavin Newsom. This despite the fact that Newsom is not a candidate. And he also says he's not going to run. White House columnist for The Hill, Niall Stanage, is here. Okay, now, this is rather odd. I don't know that I've ever heard of something like this happening so close to an election. Would you call it a fake debate or, a cage match? What do we call this?
A cage match, political death match, one of those things. It's going to be a spectacle, at least. These guys really don't like each other. It's not something that is just ginned up because they have political differences. They have attacked each other, sniped at each other for quite some time. And obviously they do represent, Adrienne, two very diametrically opposed visions of the nation, of political ideology, a whole different approach to governing. So it's going to be quite a clash, I imagine.
Is it believed to be fueling up the fire of the base of either of these men, or is it just a distraction?
I think it's firing up the base. Now, whether it affects, for example, the presidential race or not, that's a different question. But one of the attractions of this debate to both men is that each of them is a good foil for the other. If you're Ron DeSantis, you get to hit the governor of a liberal state who is himself a liberal figure, disliked by many conservatives. So there's a gain there for DeSantis. Similarly, for Newsom, he can take the fight to Ron DeSantis, and it's the inverse or the mirror image of that situation. Anyone who supports Gavin Newsom already is going to be enthusiastic about him trying to land a few rhetorical punches on Ron DeSantis.
But his recent poll numbers, not so hot in California. Is there a risk, even as some Democrats are seeing, that Newsom is really participating, he's really doing a shadow campaign?
Yeah, I do think that is a risk. We've had, for example, recently Senator John Fetterman, Democrat from Pennsylvania, talking about this idea that there are two Democrats in addition to President Biden running for president. And Fetterman said only one of them, Congressman Dean Phillips, had the guts to declare it. So there's clearly suspicion over Newsom's intentions. You mentioned that recent poll from the LA Times that shows his approval rating having dropped about 11 points since February. So there are risks in all of this. But of course, it's a 90-minute debate that often gets reduced to 90-second sound bites. If Governor Newsom or Governor DeSantis gets favourable sound bites out of this, it'll be a net benefit, most probably.
You would think that Governor DeSantis has enough on his plate, having to try to catch up to the GOP frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. How in the world does this event benefit him at all?
The one way I think it does benefit him is he's not going to be overshadowed by anyone on the Republican side. Right now, Governor DeSantis has been squeezed from both directions in a way. Former President Trump, as you say, is a long way ahead on the polls. But then again, Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador, is perceived to have performed very well at the debates. That has given her a boost. She might even supplant Governor DeSantis in second place. So here, at least for Governor DeSantis, it's him versus a Liberal Democrat. And so he has an unrivaled room to maneuver, at least in a conservative sense.
I would think that they would have to benefit the most if either of them can come up with a plan for immigration. As with California and Florida, this is one of the #1 topics among voters there. But are we expected to see actual solutions presented or just a bunch of bickering? There's not going to even be an audience.
If I were betting one way or another, I would say bickering is probably likely to be the major element in all of this. Now, having said that, you're right that there are very clear differences in immigration policy. That's one of the main points of tension between these two men. You might remember Governor DeSantis doing those migrant flights, including to Sacramento. At that time, Governor Newsom was suggesting there could even be some criminal liability. He didn't specify really what he meant, and it never went anywhere. But I'm citing that as evidence of the capacity for there to be a lot of bickering, a lot of belligerence, and less by way of solutions.
Well, since you brought that up, I always bring up the fact that the federal government flew people all the time. We even had our own correspondent, Brian Enton, at an airport where we saw immigrants being flown from the border to other cities across the United States. So it's not something that's new. It's not something that DeSantis or Governor Abbott from Texas invented. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.